right, everybody. Welcome to the 1% podcast. I'm excited for this one because I fucked it up for so long. So we were meant to do this probably about 2 months ago, and we finally got round to it. But I want to welcome Odhran onto the podcast. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, thank you. Well done for getting the name right, mate, because a lot of people say Odhran because of the funny Irish spelling, but you got it right.
Do you know what? The only thing is that I've got a client that's the same name, so I thought, oh, thank God.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but it's like, when you get complex names like that, this is the best thing I learned being dyslexic. I'm like, which one do you eliminate? Like, because it's they put it in there just for the hell of it.
Yeah,
like,
for sure, man.
Right, just get rid of one of the letters and you're good to go.
You know what's even worse? When I go to a coffee shop, I spell it differently. So I say it's Oran, Oran, and they still get it wrong. They're like, the girl today was looking at the docket and was like saying to the girl on the till, like, how do I say this? I'm like, that's the easiest way I can spell it, right? I can't do anything better for you.
If I went to the coffee shop, I'd just be like, Ben.
Yeah.
I do that now. I don't even do it with my name. I'm like, my name's not complicated, but it's like it comes out. Oh, I've seen it with Brendan. It comes out Branny and things like that. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go with like Adam from now on.
Yeah, easy.
You can't
right?
fuck that up. So it's cool. No, but honestly, like the nice thing I think with this episode is that actually like we know of each other, but we kind of don't know each other amazingly well. So for me, this is kind of just an insight into you. So I guess I want to go back. Let's start from kind of maybe not the beginning, like we were all born at some stage. And I'm guessing born in Ireland, ended up in Australia, sort of thing. So
yeah,
I guess kind of take me back to kind of the early years of like, I don't know, like beginning of high school sort of thing. What was it like back then? What was the roots?
yeah. So I was the background really is that my dad was like a really good Gaelic footballer. Like he played for his county level, which is like the pinnacle of Gaelic football. Like that's like being a professional essentially, except you don't get paid for it. So he was playing at a high level. He managed at a high level, and my mum used to be a really decent netball player. But for some reason, team sports just they never got. I played them and I went and I did it for the social aspect. And when I applied myself a bit, I was all right. But for some like the laps and all the fitnessy stuff, it just turned me off it, I think. Like I enjoyed the social aspect, but team sports didn't really do it for me. And I was a type of kid, like I had asthma as a child and grew out of it. And then when we had to do laps and stuff in PE, I would just fake an asthma attack and be like, yeah, I'll rock up like 5 minutes after everyone else, be like, yeah, the asthma got me. And I'll just have walked around, I was that kid, man. And then now I'm into fitness. It's so strange. But essentially, like the gym was what sparked my whole interest. Like going solo, my dad took me when I was about 15 or 16 to the local leisure center, started lifting weights, typical like men's health, men's fitness sort of approach, and like loved that. Couldn't get enough of that sort of stuff. Couldn't wait for the magazine each month to learn the three biggest bicep tips and the latest bodybuilders routine, which we all know is just some editor really giving the routine and putting the pictures alongside now.
Yeah.
But I loved that at the time. I was like, oh, this is great. Progressed to like Flex magazine over time, which was the more hardcore bodybuilder magazine versus Men's Health.
Yeah.
But then it sort of changed. I don't know how I really came around to making this decision, but I didn't know what to go to uni for. Did my A levels, did all right, and was like, right, what do I want to do with my life? Where do I want to go to uni? And looking through this, prospectus, and I was like, what do I want to study? And sports science was there, and I was like, wasn't really interested in sports. Wasn't overly. I did biology for A level, but like I wasn't really like massively into it. And I was like, oh, could I do sports science? And I went and did my sports science degree, pissed around for a couple of years, getting stoned and drinking more so than studying at uni, to be 100% honest.
Yeah, that's good.
And then came out with my sports science degree and then just get into coaching, mate. And then it's sort of taken me on the whirlwind since then,
So when was that? When I want to get like a timeline. When did you finish university? Did you graduate? Is the question. Did you get it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I wasn't that much of a stoner where I just was like, fuck the whole system. I did pass. I got a 2-2. I was like 2 marks off a 2-1, and I was applying actually to do a postgrad, and I needed a 2-1 to do strength and conditioning at Edinburgh Uni, and I got my place was accepted conditional on if you get a 2-1, you're there, and I think it was like 60 was the mark for getting a 2-1, and I got 58, and I was like, oh shit, right. Now what am I going to do with life? So I was quite lucky. Like I loved the gym, and I was going through my own sort of transformation, getting stronger, getting really into that strength and conditioning side. So I did my PT course when I was at uni. So when I was coming out in 2009, I had that course behind me, and I was essentially moving home with a PT qualification that I wasn't really sure how to use or what to do.
Where did you do your? Where was uni? Where did you do you do your study?
Liverpool, John Moores Uni in Liverpool, which at the time was actually the #1 sports science school.
Oh, okay. So you were born and raised in
just outside of a little city called really a big town, called Enquiry. So if Belfast is on the east coast and Dublin's on the east coast, like north and south, I'm pretty much bang in the middle of there, like literally a stone throw over the border.
Okay, cool. So then you kind of decided, obviously, pack up your bags, go to university in England, sort of thing. So you did that, and then after your course, did you move back to Ireland?
I did, yeah. So did the typical move back, then met a girl, started in like, gym job, not settled down properly. Like it's not the same girl I'm married to now. So typical, made some roots there. That didn't work out. And at the same time, I'd done 4 years there. I had a reputation. I worked at the local council, then opened my own sort of facility, very small place, but it was enough for me to PT. And got this reputation as being, a good trainer. I think one of my skills is I'm probably very empathetic. So I can talk to anyone, even though I'm quite introverted. I can understand people, and I relate to them quite well. So I got a reputation pretty quick for getting decent results, being a good person, and having this little special place which was sort of quiet. It wasn't a big commercial gym or anything, but it was kind of like big fish in a small pond. Like you've had that feeling before, right?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. So
and then what did that? I guess when you have that feeling, like, what did you do? Like what? Like obviously, 4 years, it's kind of hard, isn't it? Because you've built a foundation, like especially when you're one-to-one, you built a client base, you're known in that area, you've got a facility, and it just gets to the point where you're like, fuck, like, I need to make a change, but it will require me to make a lot of sacrifices. And
yeah.
So when was that? Like, what time era was that?
So that would have been 2013. So I'd been home for about 3.5 years. Me and the girl had broken up, and at that stage, that's when I started my first real coaching experience, where I said, right, let's go through my own transformation. Right, breakups make bodybuilders. Right, we've all heard that saying 100%. Before. So I'd hired one of my mates, who was a really high level coach at the time around the area, and he's now got his PhD in nutrition. That's how advanced he went with his studies after that. So he was the first person to ever get me properly lean, and we did like a little mock photo shoot in the gym I was at. But while I was dieting, obviously we'd had this breakup, and I was like, right, what am I going to do with this? Do I go all in on like, transformation coaching? Do I open a bigger facility where I was? And then I went on a course. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the Physique Elite courses that were around that time, where it was run by the guys who did Body Power, Nick Orton and those guys? They had Chris Gethin and Neil Hill, where like they did their certification sort of things through them.
Well, I know of Neil Hill. Like I know the name, but nah. Because hang on, let's like, what? How old are you now? How old are you?
I just turned 35 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. So you're ahead of me on that scale. That's why I'm like, no, I don't get it. So it's cool. Carry on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went to one of these courses anyway. It was like Chris Gethin and Neil Hill, who, if anyone doesn't know, he trained Flex Lewis for all his Olympia wins, like for 10, 12 years or whatever. So quite big names, but obviously I was traveling. It was all based in England, so I'd fly across and do all these different courses. And then after one of them, it was quite near to Christmas. It was around November time. And afterwards, one of my friends lived in London, and she was studying over there. And I said, oh, let's go over and I'll just go down to London from, I think the course was in Coventry, spend a few days there, met a few people. connecting with people like all over, like people in Glasgow, people from Coventry, people from Birmingham. And then went to London, and it was near Christmas, and the lights of London. I was like, this is so far from home. I was like,
Yeah,
this,
man.
this is cool. It just pulled me in. We went to the Christmas markets and the lights and the buzz about it. I was like, maybe I'll go to London. So I thought, right, let's do it. And this was in November. And I messaged one of my mates who had met on the course, and he had been telling me on the course how he was the busiest PT at this gym in Glasgow. And I was like, bro, I've only ever worked for a local leisure center here. Like, what's it like working for like a pure gym, gym group, all these sort of other gyms? Like, how easy is it to get a job? Is it competitive? What would it be like? And he was like, why do you want to know? Like, what's in your head? And I was like, I'm thinking of going to London. He's like, right, why don't you come to Glasgow? I was like,
Yeah.
okay, sell me. And he's like, well, it's the Scottish London, but everyone's a bit better crack and it's not as busy. And I was like, okay, you kind of got me. It's still better than where I was, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I moved to Glasgow then, and I started 2014, sold the business, which I don't know how I managed to do that. Like, it was making okay money, but I got a decent figure for it, which set me up for a couple of months in Glasgow where I was building the PT. Sold the business there, sold the email list, the client list, the social media pages, but I don't even know how I knew to do that. I was just like, let me find somebody to buy my business. I don't know how it happened, but
Yeah. Awesome.
sold up, man, and that set me up for the next stage, which was Glasgow.
Shit. And then when you were in, what year did you move to Glasgow? That 2000
2014.
and then how long were you there for?
4 years again. It's like every 4 years. I did 3 years at uni, then 4 years
It's
back
funny,
home, and
isn't it? I
then
think 3 and 4 years is the itchy period.
yeah, for sure,
Because
man.
I'm definitely at that period now. I'm like, I'm itchy, right? Dubai is sick, but I've been here nearly 4 years. It's time to move on. Like,
Yeah, right. Where would be next then? What's the next stage? If you were to do it, obviously you might not, but if
um,
you were,
yeah, like the nice thing is now that it's kind of naturally happening, I'm spending more time in Australia.
yeah,
Just because obviously the missus is from there and things like that, and all her family's out there. So naturally, you're going to probably just transition and spend a lot more time out there. Because
nice.
it's nice to have the two. It really is. Like, it's nice to have like, because honestly, like the Gold Coast, it was nice because there was that nice bit of hustle still. There was that great fitness community and things like that. But also, it was just like, do you want to just go surfing today? Like, yeah, that sounds good. And everyone kind of
Nice, yeah.
like, I like it how everyone wakes up early, like coffee shops are open at 5 a.m. Like, everyone's morning people there. Like, you go for a walk down
Yeah,
the beach. Like in Dubai, no one's like, that's the nightlife here. And
yeah.
I'm like, coffee to shops don't open here till 8. My day's done by 8 a.m. So
Yeah.
so it's just like I just kind of like the lifestyle of it. It kind of just slows your mind down a little bit. So it's nice that you can
Yeah,
be
sure.
right, come here, just fucking work. And then you're like, right, let's have some downtime sort of thing. So
Yeah,
it will
sure.
be in that kind of it'll be there, the Gold Coast where she's from for sure.
Yeah, nice. That's cool, man.
But yeah, that's it. And then but also I did the same as you, man. Like I did exactly the same thing. I did a small town. I opened up a pure gym for my first kind of job as a PT. 3 years in, I was like, like big fish, little pond. Like I did my first like junior bodybuilding show and things like that. So I was like, no one else was doing that. I'm gonna move to London. And
Yeah,
like
right.
it did exactly the same as you. Moved to London, spent 3 years there, fucking lockdown. All right, let's go to Dubai because the gyms are open. Spent 3 weeks there. I was like, this is cool. Let's move. And
Yeah, nice.
that was it. But so literally the same sort of thing for you, man. It's crazy, isn't it? How you just do it. You look back on, you're like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and you just do it, and you'll do it again. You'll be like, fuck, it's nuts. And
Yeah.
when you were in, what was that? So you got to Glasgow. Where were you based from then? What were you doing there? So you got in. You obviously had a couple of months, kind of money sorted and things like that.
Yeah, so it was straight into Pure Gym. That guy Lee that I met, he had me an interview. So we pretty much, I think we did it over maybe the phone, and it was just like formalizing it when I went over. Like, right, when's your shift's going to be? Started on as the gym floor
Yeah,
shift. We
I did exactly.
cleaning treadmills and cross trainers and that.
Yeah,
Obviously, good, very good for business. Taking classes and doing
it
a
was
booty
probably
burn
the
class and legs, bums, and tums or whatever they
Yeah,
called it.
it was probably the same concept because I know it's changed now, but when I was there, probably the same sort of thing as you. It was like you did 15 hours of shift work for them.
Yeah,
That was like technically your rent. So you taught classes
sure.
or did all that sort of stuff. And then outside
Exact
that
same.
15 hours, you could do whatever you wanted, sort of thing.
Exactly, mate. And for
Yeah.
somebody who's moved over, it's like, right, I don't have to pay rent. I can
It
earn
was
money and
such
I
a
just
good
need to trade my
concept.
time. I was like, oh, that's killer.
Yeah, it was such a good concept because, like you say, like in those 50 like 5 hour shifts, were they or something like that?
Yeah, three,
All you
5 hour
did, like
shifts. Yeah.
teaching spin, get to yell, put your own music on. Fucking, it was
Yeah.
quality. And obviously from there, you got to start to network with people, build a client base for free.
Yeah, exactly.
The concept of it, because I know the gym group's exactly the same. You're like, it's a genius idea, like generally phenomenal concept.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But it's nuts. And then how long were you there for? Obviously, pure gym, you kind of I guess you built your client base up really well and all that sort of stuff from there.
Yeah, so built it up, and some of the people that I'm in touch with now, some people have went into like business mentoring or whatever. But whenever Lee pitched it to me, he was like, "I've got the best schedule in here. Like I'm the busiest PT with the best schedule. I clock off at 2 o'clock." By the time I left, I was that guy. I had 30, 40 sessions a week, but it was all on my schedule. I'd finish probably by 12 o'clock each day. I'd do like 3-4 hours in the morning and then maybe 1 or 2 lunchtime sessions. And I lived 2 minutes from the gym. So I'd literally nip home on my breaks between clients or whatever. And I'd be home and eating a meal or whatever within 5 minutes. So it was literally the perfect little setup. But then I guess me and my then wife got itchy feet. I met her at the gym. Funny story, actually. When you sort of notice people about the gym, right? You notice everyone, right? You notice the regular members. Obviously, as a single male with high levels of testosterone, like you're gonna notice all the females too, right?
Yeah.
So I noticed her in the gym, and I noticed her around quite a lot. And she was in sometimes twice a day, and she'd be in the morning. I'd clock her, and then she'd come back in the evening. And she was starting to come to my classes, and I didn't know that. I just clocked her. But she was actually coming to the classes because she liked me. And she looked my name up on the Pure Gym website where the trainers are all listed. And she
Stalked you
looked me
for a
up on
bit.
Facebook, and she was like, "This guy's single. Let me just hang around a little bit and see what happens."
No way. Wow, that's quality.
Yeah.
Mate, good on her.
So
Normally it's the guys got to do that sort of shit. Well done, her.
yeah. So then I initiated the conversation, talked to her, and she eventually brought this out much later. Like, she'd sort of stalked me, but then it all kicked off, and we were married then 3 years later. Went to honeymoon. Actually, I'd never been to Dubai. We went to Dubai for a stopover for I think 3 days in 2017, and then we went on to the Maldives. So
Nice,
you
man.
imagine Dubai, and that was end of May around this time of year. It was starting to get pretty hot. It was decent weather. It was nice. There was a good vibe about it. They were just building the big wheel was just getting built, and that whole area, where they're built up, where the Caesar's Palace and all is over there, like that was just getting built.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
So it had a lot happening about it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then the Maldives was just like pure chill out for 10 days or whatever we were there.
Nice.
Got home to Glasgow, and it actually, we looked it up, like the weather was terrible that summer. It was like the wettest summer in the UK in like 30 years. And like my missus it was June, July, and she was getting drenched walking to work.
Yeah.
And she came home one day and she was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't know if it's because we've just been away, but like, I don't think I can walk to work and get soaked all year round and like have this, not that it was a shitty lifestyle. It was very good. Like we did live a good life there, but it was just that, the UK weather and, all that, it just was kind of bringing us down. So she says, listen, she's a dentist. So she says, I can go to Dubai and I don't have to do my recertification. If I go to America or anywhere else, I'll have to recertify, or I can go to Australia. She was like, what do you think about going to Australia? I was like, okay. It's actually been on my bucket list since that. When I was like in my teens, I used to be like, I'm going to go to Australia. I'm never coming back.
Yeah.
But then life gets in the way and you don't, right? You go to uni, you settle down back home, and then you do all these different things. So it's always been on my to-do list, and I was nearly 30 at this stage, and I'm pretty sure once it hit the 30 mark, it's like you can't really get the tourist visas as easily, the working holidays.
Yeah.
I was like, right, this is my chance to go. She can get us in, do that. So she literally was like, I'm just gonna find out, who can maybe employ me. I'm gonna work out on getting us visas, and we'll head out. And she did it. She was like, it's either Brisbane or Perth, and we were looking it up. And it's funny though, because have you ever been to Perth? You have, haven't you?
All my family live there. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that. So
Yeah.
I remember looking up on like we were literally lying in bed one night and we're looking up all these chat forums and like should you move to Perth? And people were saying stuff like it's just full of, druggies and then, people who are on roids who want to fight all the time. And I was like, this can't be what life's like in Perth. Like
Pretty
surely
sure that's
not
every
every
city in
week.
the world anyway, so it's fine.
Exactly. I was like, surely this is just some people who've had a bad altercation with some big cunt on a night out or whatever, and they've put up some funny post. And I was like Perth is so far from that. It's like unreal. It's like so quiet, family based. And it was
Yeah.
like we're like, oh, let's just take a punt on it, find a good company here. I've been doing my research.
So you never went there before you moved?
Nah, nah. I'd never set foot in Australia, man, until literally we got here. So
pack up all your bags and go. Yeah, amazing.
yeah, man. So yeah, and the rest is, well, we're down here 5 years now. Got our citizenship last year. Had 2 kids since then. They're little Aussies.
Yeah,
Like
man.
it's funny, man. Like my wife's English, I'm Irish, and then you hear the kids and like they just sound so Aussie when they say certain words. You're
Weird,
like,
isn't it?
yeah, one of my girls, my eldest, said to me the other day, "Daddy, where did my chip go?" And I was like, she had like what we would call crisps, and then I was like, "What? Your what? What are
Oh,
you
did
talking
she?
about?" And she's
Yeah,
eating
I was
lunch,
like,
and she said chip, and I was like, "What are you talking about? Chip? What's chip?" Like, she's no, my chip. Where'd it go? And I was like, "Oh, your crisp." Like, it's so weird, just all those different words that she's gonna like start saying now. That we just wouldn't say.
yeah, it's amazing. It is like honestly, Perth's one of those places where like it is gorgeous. It's kind of like that place where it's like it's almost like you say when I think you've got it perfect now that you've got 2 kids and things like you're married and stuff like that. It's a lot more like you can like let them be like, yeah, go outside, run around, like even run around on the streets in some of the suburbs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like because it's quiet, it's very what actually happens there, like trouble
yeah,
wise. I think that kind of all of Australia really like on the grand schemes of trouble or sort of thing, it's really low. It's like, yeah, people's cars get stolen or whatever, but like it's not the same as like I lived in East London. I'm like, not the fucking same.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
not the same. Like it's crazy. Like even like when I talk to Steph, my partner, and things like that of like London stories, she's like, that can't be real. I'm like, yeah, like it's sketchy. And then you talk in
Yeah,
Australia, and it's just like, oh, like it's so much more. It's kind of the benefits of like the UK and even sometimes Dubai, I think, but just put in a more it's the combination of the relaxed vibe, but also that lifestyle in like kind of those cities. That's honestly why I love it. Like it's an
yeah,
incredible place in the world. It's insane.
yeah. It's awesome, man. Awesome. We live like, no, we're not on the beach, but we're about a kilometer back from the beach. So you can still like on a stormy, blowy sort of night, you can still hear the waves when you're lying in bed and you're like, what's that noise? You wake up, you're like, oh, it's just the ocean way down there. And
Yeah.
it's nice, man,
Which beach are you close to?
Scarborough.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah, yeah, sick. Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that
So it's nice.
and does that work out? You're north or south of the river?
Yeah. North.
North.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sick. I kind of like in
Yeah.
my head, it's been a while since I was there, and I always try and like, is that north or south of the river? And then I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
south.
Yeah.
Sick,
Nah,
man.
yeah.
No,
It's
it's
pretty nice, man.
amazing. And what are you kind of up to nowadays and things like that? What's your life like now? Obviously, you're a dad and like Jesus, you're a husband, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy.
Um, So yeah, I mean, life's pretty cruisy to be fair. Like when we moved here, I started working at Doherty's gym. Obviously, you've heard of Doherty's. It was the only gym chain I knew before we started to look into being here. And obviously, then they've only got at the time there was only gyms in Melbourne. There was like 5 around Melbourne at the time, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, it's
but
big
we
in
go to
Melbourne, isn't it?
Melbourne, and it's like Melbourne's it's a bit colder. It doesn't guarantee the weather. It was either we want to go to, we're getting away from the UK weather. We don't want to go to the UK equivalent, where the weather is a bit gloomier.
Yeah,
It's better than UK for sure in Melbourne, but it was sunny side in Brisbane or it was sunny side on Perth. But right after we decided on Perth, I seen this thing pop up, a thing I started following, like, local people, finding people who are maybe influencers or supplement stores and things around the area to get a feel for it. Like where I was going to get my protein powder from when I got here,
it's always
But
important,
Yeah, man. So
Priorities.
absolutely, man. So Doherty's was popping up as the first gym outside of Melbourne. Like Tony was partnering with, two guys over here.
Mm.
And I just messaged them. I was like, any room for trainers? Like, I'm moving over. Cool. So they um basically said, yeah, come over when you're ready. But what's happening? They were busy doing renos, right? So this is a funny story because it shows why you should always just like follow up on things. Um, I sent them an email about November. We were moving in December, January time, and I sent them an email about November saying, like, listen, everyone on social media is pointing out that you guys are pretty full on trainers. Like, is there a spot for me here? Like, is that you're not taking anyone new, but you still like entertain me? So send an email. And had hired like a manager to sort of run all the pre-sale and everything while the boys were helping with the renovations and getting everything up to scratch. And
Yeah.
the email just got lost apparently in the system, like, or the girl didn't reply to me or whatever it was. But the boys didn't know that, and I didn't know that. So here's me thinking, I've emailed them saying, is there any room for me? And they have not got back to me. So, shit, they must be full. So anyway, we move over. And I dropped my wife to the train station one day, and I thought to myself, I'm applying for all these gyms, and nearly every one of them's sort of offered me a job, and I'm just sort of waiting. And I'm waiting on one particular gym getting back to me, like the Revo Fitness, a big chain over here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I've got these guys' numbers. I'm just gonna give them a ring. Like, what they tell me to fuck off, like basically doing the same as the email. What's the big deal? I've still got job offers. Like, at least
Yeah,
I've got a
exactly.
firm no. So I phoned him on the way back, and he was like, "Oh, we were just talking about you like last week. Like, we're wondering what happened. The Irish guy was meant to come across." And I was like, "Oh, you didn't get back to my email." They were like, "I don't know anything about an email, but can you come in tomorrow for a job interview?" And I was like, "Sweet." And then
Sick,
the
man.
rest is history, man. And I was this close to giving up on that because I just presumed when you didn't hear back, like, shit, these guys must be full. They must be busy. It's a big gym. It's like my dream gym. Um, and then two of us went for the interview. I got the last PT job, and then the rest. Then whenever I left, I just recently left. Went fully online. I was the only trainer out of the original crew still left, and I was the last one employed. And I was also the one that they had bodybuilders on staff, like people who were competitive bodybuilders, and they were like, let's just take a punt on this guy because the average person, like, he looks more appealing to the average person, and like let's just give him a chance. And I ended up being the one who like sort of outlasted everyone who was the big
Yeah.
bodybuilders who were
It's
expected
funny
to do
though,
so
like
well.
Australia, like when we were training at World's Gym and it was kind of, I think it was like the original kind of World's Gym. So it's like
Yeah, yeah,
it's more of the bodybuilding old school one.
yeah,
And it's like, even the guys behind the desk, they like, fucking hell, monster. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's funny
yeah.
how, like, I don't know why, like, it's a bit like that. I don't know why. It's kind of good because it's like, I guess, like, when you go into a gym, that's like, okay, I expect that sort of thing. But like you say, it's also being like, well, actually, like, 90% of the people that come, do they want to get on stage? No.
Yeah,
Like, so actually being like putting someone in there that's a bit more like, you don't have to eat chicken, rice, and broccoli 7 times a day. You can have some
yeah,
protein
yeah,
pancakes. You can do this sort of stuff. Like, you can have 2 kids and still get in good shape and all this sort of stuff as
yeah,
well. It's good to like, yeah, it's definitely like, I think it's funny because I'm going more down the route of like, yeah, I'm taking my bodybuilding a lot more seriously and things like that. And it is funny how you just like, I don't want to lose. I know I won't, but lose the roots of just being like, I'm an emotional guy. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'll talk about my feelings and things like that. I'm not like that type of bro. I'll be a bro in the gym, but like when I'm
yeah,
out,
yeah,
no way.
yeah. Sure.
So it's nice that the way that kind of, like you say, like with your career and things like that, it's just important to kind of be you throughout that process
Yeah,
as
for
well, and
sure.
not kind of get diverted down different routes, which is amazing, man. So
Yeah,
no, damn, that's cool, bro. That's absolutely, because always Doherty's is it it's Doherty's, isn't it? Doherty's.
yeah, yeah. Well, we would say it different. It's weird. When I came over, I was like, I thought it was. We would say Doherty, so that's how we would pronounce it in
Yeah,
Ireland. And
true. Yeah,
Tony's originally from Ireland, so when I came over, the P, obviously just with a change in accent, they've obviously just it's changed completely. But like I was like, oh, Doherty's, okay, so it's not Doherty's. We would say.
I would have said it more like you as well, actually, because I think that's just me. Just I want to pronounce all the letters in it, like.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, no, because that's I didn't. Do you know what? I didn't know until I was there this time that I thought it was just like a Melbourne thing. I thought it was quite a
Yeah.
pristine kind of just one or two gyms, and it was based there. Because that's what's the one with the tunnel in Melbourne? That's
Yeah,
a
that's Doherty City. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's all I think of. So I just assume it's
Yeah.
one or two gyms, and I guess now it's obviously more of a, well, I say not a chain, but I guess it's a bit more of a franchise sort of thing because it's not still quite premium, isn't it? Sort of thing. It's still kind of well known for that reason.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Tony's very picky. Like he said, he's had offers like, you know, to do a big thing in Sydney, but he wants the people, like the people who run Perth, they're working in there every day. Like he wants that because Tony's there every day in Melbourne. So he's probably had heaps of things like World Gym. They're all over the place in Australia now because John Davey, who set those up, basically just was franchise, franchise, franchise. Let's build them, you know, and they're getting huge everywhere. But with Tony's, he has a certain thing that he wants out of it, you know. So
Yeah, that's
even just
cool.
having the Perth one is pretty random because he has to find somebody he trusts with the brand who's going to be in it, who's going to be, you know,
Is it just one in
co-partners
Perth?
with it. Yeah, just one, mate. Yeah,
Just
just
one,
one, and
yeah.
it's the only one outside Melbourne. You know, there's no one anywhere else in the world.
Wow, that's sick. Yeah, because I know two people from Melbourne, Nicole and Jeremy. I know them through Steph and through kind of bodybuilding stuff like that, and their trainers based out in Perth as well. But I don't know where they train. I'm not sure where they train. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's like it's funny, isn't it? I always think like because I've been to Perth almost every year since I was 4 years old, except the last 5 years. So like every
yeah.
Christmas I'd go out there and spend it with my family, sort of thing. But it's been like a while, and like every time you go, like I think it's because in the last 5 years I've gone into this bodybuilding world. And before that, I wasn't. So now I'll go there and I'll be like, there's loads of shit here. Before I was like, nothing happens in Perth. And
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah,
go
yeah.
there now and I'll be like, actually, there's loads of shit to do. And
Yeah.
there's
You
loads of
can
people
surf,
and
you
things
can go
like
to
that.
Doherty's, you can go to World Gym, you sorted.
Yeah, it'd be sick. No, I'm actually, do you know what? It's because I do need to go back and see family, probably like next summer sort of time, or like winter for you guys next winter, try and go back.
Yeah,
So it'll be
yeah.
good, man. It'll be good just to like meet everyone, probably go for a couple of weeks, catch up with you, train and stuff like that. It'll be sick.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that'd be insane, man. That's crazy. So obviously you've just gone. When did you finish there doing face to face recently?
Literally last week.
Oh no way.
um,
Shit.
so I've pretty much been fully online for like a year. I sort of just kept the clients who've been with me for years. I just kept training them like 1 to 3 clients at any time and wasn't really pushing it. I just had my little office there, which was my own little sanctuary. And I literally probably would have kept that office till this day, man, and would have just stayed affiliated with the brand. But due to the family thing, my wife went back to work more days after the second kid. And I've got to be involved more with drop off, which meant that, you know, I like getting up at 5, getting a lot of my work done and training around 9. So that would have meant working from the home office here, getting to like doing school drop off, getting to the gym about 9 to train. And then I don't like to hang about the gym anyway after 12. So I'd be like, I wouldn't
Yeah.
sit in there to work. Like I want to come home and work from here in the afternoon. So I was like, well, I didn't need the office. And literally, it's funny because in January, I was like, yeah, I'm never leaving this place. Like, it's just a good vibe. Like, I'd never want to give up the
Yeah.
office, even though it's pretty much fully online. I think I only had 1 client at that stage in January, but I was like, I'll keep training him and I'll keep the office on. But then when things change with the school year, whenever school year goes back here in February, it was
Yeah.
like, okay, now I need to be involved more as a dad. And it just didn't allow the time to do that in the office. So just mainly, just me, man, now online. I've been working out of here for probably about 8 weeks solely online while I've been just serving my notice in there. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, man. So it's interesting, you know.
Yeah. How was like I always go with being a parent and things like that because obviously I think about this sort of stuff because one day I'll be a parent and things like that. How do you like the beginning years, the first 2 years of like having little ones? Like, what's it like? Obviously, like, there's me thinking like the time and things like that. You always make time, don't you? Like, no matter what, you always
Yeah.
somehow make time. How did you find kind of running your own business and obviously being a partner and a dad? How did you find it like overall? Like, stressful over like, or did you kind of just you obviously adapt and overcome? Like, what was the hardest parts of that new life for you, I guess?
Yeah, I guess it's like definitely with two. I'm still a bit selfish. Like I'll definitely always find my time to train, and same with my missus. I'll try to like not work and like carve out time for her to go and do her things as well.
Yeah. But that's
But you've
important. That's
got
really important.
yeah, For sure, man, for sure. Like you've got to have those sort of boundaries and support each other. And especially with two kids, it's even harder because like one might nap and the other might, when they both nap, it's easy because I could sit here and work while the missus went to the gym and I just have the baby monitor, like what I've got now, man. She's at the
Yeah.
gym right now. And that's easy. But whenever one stops napping and then one still naps, that means you've got to entertain one. So I can't just, plop her in front of the TV for an hour while the missus is out. I've got to just, like switch off from here and, give the missus time to do that, but also be the dad mode, And it's weird because now that I'm working from here, my days are like work mode for like an hour and a half, 2 hours of solid work, client calls, consult, sales calls, marketing, anything that I need to do. And then it's like, right, let's turn dad mode on for an hour until school. Like you help them with breakfast, help get everything ready, drop them off, and then it's back into either my mode for training or it's back to work mode. And it's like you're constantly shifting between work, family, train, work, family, then work again in the evening, It's like you got to just be flexible, man. That's why, I do a lot of work here in the evening. I'll work till 9 o'clock and then I'll get ready for bed, and I'll get up at 5 and I'll get straight into it. But then I've got that break in the day, which is like my time to train or family time. And I guess once you find those little like time blocks to carve out for yourself, for the family, for everyone else, it's easier. Not that it's ever easy, but it's easier,
Yeah, 100%. Like you say, especially when you've got a partner it makes a big difference that she trains and she wants her own sort of like, it's kind of nice that she kind of wants to get away and go train and kind of get out the house and do these things. Because obviously, I guess as a mum, like you kind of just want to be a mum, like they just want to be there the whole time. But it's nice that she's, again, like when you've got that teamwork as a couple, it does make life like you say, easier. It does make it easier. It's fact is like,
sure, man.
You're a team at the end of the day. So you're like, oh, it's 2v2 now. So it's like we're the bigger two. We can win this. We can win this battle.
Yeah.
So no.
And to be honest, mate, I don't know how it would have went like with the new one. Like if we went back and I was fully online working from here, because the rule with the missus, which was great, was I was getting up at 5 to be in the gym for clients. So I was working, she was off. So she did all the night stuff. Like if baby cried during the night, I didn't even have to flinch. Like she would be up and she'd deal with it, which is obviously, I guess, as a new mom, like they want to be doing that. Like even though it's like it's building the connection with the baby, it's their maternal role. But a lot of dads also have to get up and do a feed during the night, so the missus can get a couple hours without waking or getting up.
Yeah.
But with me, it was like there was just this, like, not that we didn't really speak about our plan. It was just this unwritten thing where I had to work. I was getting up at 4:35 in the morning. I was going to be, I could have clients until 12. I might be 6 clients back to back or something. I needed to be on for that. So it was this unwritten thing. Like, she didn't expect me to do anything, but if it was online where I'm just coming down here to work in the office, there might have been that expectation, which might have made it harder for me because it would make it easier for her, but that would make it harder for me having to get up. So I probably had it quite easy, man, in hindsight, like with the first one for sure. Like, because it was just that, that understanding that I would go out and work and I'd earn the money and
but that's that whole thing, isn't it? It's kind of like there's always like this, it's like when you're in a relationship as a couple, kind of like where the priorities are. Do you know what I mean? Like the missus knows that actually like you do need to get up. She understands you do need to get up. She understands your job, like you have to be functioning, things like that, cognitive, to be able to coach people for a few hours. And that's obviously going to look after her and the kids. So it's kind of like that, almost like when you say it's unwritten rule, it's just absolutely like you guys just know each other extremely well. That's the thing. Like if it was like a new relationship, you got a kid, like she would have been like, you get up and do it. And then that would have caused you to have bad performance at work, and then it just affects the whole relationship. So a lot of it, like you say, it's like, and now you do have the second one. You're like, she's probably like, it's your turn now, get up. It's like, this is karma. And it'll probably be like the second one doesn't sleep as well. So you're up all the time.
Well, mate, the 4-year-old now is like coming into us to like if she needs anything, like, so it's a different type of the other when they're young, they just scream until you go and get them. When it's like, they're at the bottom of the bed and they're like poking your feet or tickling your feet and they're like, I need something, I need water, I need to go to the toilet or whatever it is. It's like you still get disrupted sleep at 4. It's just completely different way. It's not screaming at you,
Yeah, it's kind of just a politer disturbance.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's nice having your foot tickled to wake you up, to be fair, but it's like it's 2 a.m. and you're like, why am I awake?
Yeah, to be fair, it's better than I would just if I heard that. I know I'm gonna hear that first yell one night and I'll be like, what the fuck is that? Like,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It
oh
takes a while
man,
to get used to, man.
amazing. And then obviously you were in Dubai for was it Charlie's event? I think it was, wasn't
Yeah, it was, man. Yeah. I
it?
don't think we actually talked much at that because there was so much going on. But afterwards I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I should have talked to you more.
No, it is though. The thing is though, you kind of just go in your own bubble, don't they? You kind of go in there quite selfish mode. You're like, that's it. Like, I need to learn, take things from it. And obviously you network a
Yeah.
little bit, but I think when it's in Dubai, people kind of crap off and they do their own things in the afternoons and stuff like that. Because when people fly in for those events, like a lot of time they're not there for long, so they want to experience kind of Dubai. They want to go out for dinners. They want to do these things as well,
Yeah.
away from kind of the seminar sort of stuff. So for me, it was kind of like, oh, like we live here, so like we're just in routine. Like we still wake up, cardio, train. So like nothing
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
You just had to go hear someone talk for a bit. So
Yeah.
so yeah, but then there's always like also it's just the people you can't see everyone for the amount of time you're there.
Yeah, true,
So,
man.
so that's good. How did you find? Because obviously, was this the first time you were in Dubai since you kind of did that transition period of
Yeah.
business? Yeah. How
Yeah.
did you find it?
It was good, man. Like, I think there's just always so much happening. It was good to see it because, like, everything was pretty familiar. I remember one of our highlights was that we went to Asia when we were on our honeymoon, and we still remembered the sushi boat and everything. So when Charlie said, we went back to our hotel because it was right beside where we were getting the boat. So we were waiting on everyone else, and Charlie said, "Oh, just go to Pier 7." I was like, "Oh yeah, I know where this is. This is exactly where we need to be, and I know where everything is around here and everything." It's
Yeah.
it's good because even though it had been 5 years and so much has happened in the city, you still like had your little base, and it's so once you've been there once, I think you're so familiar with it, right?
I think a lot of the original stuff, like you say, like the marina and those sort of areas, they were staple. They were the first things there.
Yeah,
And obviously, it's little things like we live in JPC, so like probably 4 years ago, this wasn't even a thing. Like
yeah, right.
it wasn't even when I moved here. Like it was a bit more deserty, and like it just grows so fast. This place now, like
Crazy.
we're looking at buying property and stuff like that here. But you look out like going like if there's companies building like 10 miles out into the desert and like there's concepts, you're like, yeah, buy into those because this place just keeps going.
Yeah,
It's insane. Like, but it's cool. It's a cool place, like for sure. It's so different. It's so like completely different way of life compared to any other country I've ever been to in my entire life.
yeah, for sure, man, for sure. It's just there's lots happening about it, and even when you walk into Benoist and it's like, all right, this is cool, and you're like, yeah, this room's pretty big, and you're like, oh, hang on, there's another room. And
Yeah.
then there's another room. Oh, wait, hang on, there's one more around here. And then there's a little bit like connects around to the front that's kind of outdoors. And it's like, how big is this damn place?
It's nuts. Like obviously we've been in that month for Australia, literally got back last week. And obviously people see people's stories. And I walked in and I was like, different front entrance. The whole thing's completely different. They moved all
Oh,
the
really?
equipment around. They've got new equipment. And I walk in there, I'm like, not a fucking clue where to go. Like
Wow,
you
really?
live and then you live there. You're like, I've just been away for 4 weeks. And you're like, it's just nuts how like the scale of things is just growing massively. But I'm honestly excited because obviously oxygen's coming to Australia, which is
I heard that,
exciting.
yeah.
Um, I don't know where they're going to be, but it's probably going to be Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. They got 3 gyms.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's going to be there.
Yeah,
Um,
right, okay.
so that'll be interesting. I don't know how. I think I saw some of their stuff. It's the most, maybe their Dubai gym is the most expensive gym in the world or something like that. Like the most
Right,
expensive
okay.
concept. So they've definitely got money to blast into
Yeah,
Australia
sure,
with it.
man.
So it'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see how they do there because it's so weird. Kind of, I don't know why they decided to go to Australia out of everywhere
Yeah.
else in the world. It's like maybe because it's a space thing. I don't know, or if it's just oxygen suits that demographic and that style. I don't know.
I think like a lot of those, I was talking to Joseph Rockage on my podcast last week, and I was like, so would Benoist work in New Zealand or Australia? And he said, oh, maybe Australia, somewhere like Sydney, but like anywhere else, those sort of big, huge gyms probably, maybe wouldn't work. He didn't think they would work anyway, but it'd be interesting to see what sort of scale oxygen would come to market with. Would it be a
That's
bit
the
bigger
thing,
than a
yeah.
normal gym here, or would it be like the mega gyms, like what they've got in Kuwait and everywhere like that, you
Yeah.
know?
I think like if they did it, I think they'd have to do that. They need a wow factor.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they've got very established gyms there already. So like, what are you going to do
yeah, true.
differently? So it's like again, like
Yeah,
you like technically like you got Doherty's, right? That's in like you haven't got it in Sydney and stuff like that. So like, right, you got it in Melbourne though. So how are you going to compete to that sort of thing?
yeah,
So
yeah,
like
sure.
you're gonna have to bring in. I think honestly, what would make gyms do really well is to keep that Middle Eastern vibe, like that
Yeah,
Middle
right,
Eastern
yeah,
service. Like you have a barber shop in there, you'd have your meal prep companies in there, you have all that state.
yeah,
They need to bring that, in a sense, Middle Eastern service to Australia.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
like even if it had sports massage rooms, all that sort of stuff, like they'd have to go, and it's not like they haven't got the money either. So
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And if it pops off, man, they get the members, then you know they could close down a few gyms to be for wherever they open.
yeah, God, yeah. Well, I think that even with like B1, it's like as soon as it like Oxygen was opening in Dubai, that's it. Boom, knock the wall through. Let's make a bigger gym. Let's make this shit
Really?
competitive. Yeah,
That's mad.
I like that's why honestly the Middle East is great. You're like, it's just like a dick measuring contest. It's great. You're like, I want a bigger one. Okay, I make a bigger one.
Yeah, nice. I like
Yours is
that.
better. I'll make it better. And you're like,
Yeah, yeah,
I
nice.
don't care, man. I'll wherever's good, I'll train. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty cool. It's a good mindset to have.
It's an interesting world. But like you said, definitely don't. It's no like B1's so unique now. I don't can't like the only places it would work is a bit like obviously you might have seen like Alpha Land and stuff like that in
Oh
Texas.
yeah. Yeah.
That's probably the only thing that quite compares to it, I guess. And even then,
Yeah,
Alpha
sure.
Land's just out of the world. I think that would probably I think if like that gym was here, it would win because the
Yeah,
style of
right.
it, how it works.
Yeah, right. For
So yeah, it's interesting. It's crazy. Did the kids and the missus come with you to Dubai? Or was it just you?
no, it was just me, man. I went over with two of the boys from here. They just, yeah, I just we're like the Perth's quite small, man. Like there's a lot of really good trainers, but you know what it's like. It's good to connect with people who have similar things, and we actually talk business. We talk about numbers and what's working to get clients and how we service our clients. You know, a lot of people in Perth are really supportive of each other, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't talk openly about how good or bad the business is doing, or what they're struggling with or what's working well. So I found these two boys, and we just started this little, Instagram chat. And then I was like, "Hey, I'm going to this event with my new business mentor. Like, do you just want to come along and get a ticket?" And they were like, "Sweet, trip to Dubai." And I thought they were only messing about. Like, "Yeah, I'll come with you." And then one of them literally went and booked his flight as soon as I booked mine. I was like, "Okay, sweet. I guess this is happening."
No, it's good, man. Like that's definitely something that I noticed moving from the UK to here. That people generally like the thing is, it's like you say when you like again, all of us were in that room, sort of thing. Like everyone understood in that room that this is such a big industry in a big world that there is enough for us all to do extremely well in life.
For sure,
And
man.
like in the UK, I always found it like if I asked for, I wouldn't ask for help because people are like, well, what's in it for me? Like, what are you getting out of me? And me, and you're like, bro, like I remember like coming here for 3 weeks just because I needed to escape lockdown, and I was working with a mentor at that time, and he gave me here's the visa company, here's all this sort of stuff, and people like go here, download this app, it'll help you out, and I was like, fucking hell, like people actually that was the first time where other trainers were helping me, sort of thing.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, this is great. And even in the gym, like
nice.
I remember when I was on prep last year and there was like 2 reps left on a hack squat. And I remember just one of the coaches came along and just got 3 reps out of me, just out of the blue.
Nice.
And I was like,
Wow.
it's little things like that. You're like, yeah. And then straight away you have those messages like, I'm in the right place. A bit like
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you're in Perth, like, you've got that small little community of people and you're just like, yeah, this is the people that's going to take me to the next level sort of thing.
Sure, man.
No, it's awesome. No, spot on, man. It's absolutely amazing. So honestly, I know it's getting a little bit late for you, so I won't steal too much of your time just in case the baby monitor goes off and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
if anything, if like the biggest one is I normally leave these podcasts by the 1% rule. So if you can give someone one piece of advice that is going to take someone 1% further forward tomorrow, what would that be?
Don't break promises to yourself, regardless of your goal, regardless of what the promise is, right? Whether it's a training session, whether it's, saying you're going to do something for whatever reason. The majority of people probably don't hit goals and don't hit business goals, personal goals, financial goals, family goals, is because they're not religious with following through for themselves. They'll keep putting themselves last on the totem pole. And it's only whenever we actually say we're going to do something, we follow through, that we then build that sort of self-belief in ourselves. So then we can be the best version of ourselves for our wives, our kids, our friends, or, you know, our podcasters, whoever, you know, whoever we interact with. It's only by then, you know, saying we're going to do something and actually being that person of character to ourselves that we can then build that, because everyone's all about, you know, how they are to other people. And actually, I posted this the other day. I found this in my Instagram thing. It said, focus more on your character than your reputation, because character is who you really are. A reputation is just what others think you are.
That's so true.
And you only build that character, though, by actually saying, I'm going to do this for me, and following through on it, right? You start with yourself.
That's crazy, man. I like that. No one said that. I think this is going to be episode 63 and no one said that. So that's cool. I love that, man.
Awesome.
I guess the biggest question there is, what's one promise you've set yourself?
I can tell you one promise that I actually frequently break to myself, and I need to keep reminding myself, is that when shit gets busy, to still train, because that's what keeps me grounded. So I guess it's not that, you know, the promise is usually like, I put myself first, you know, I have my training days and it's my non-negotiable. Same way, like, you know, with my wife, I try to be there and be around to support her. Like when things get busy with business, it's very easy to put myself last and say, oh, I'll just skip the gym today because, you know, I've got 3 meetings back to back, or I've got to be home by a certain time. And then it's just pulling myself out of that and realizing, no, hang on, like this is just as important part of your day. It's scheduled in your diary. It's not, even if you go and you get 30 minutes done and you just do a quick, you know, 2 exercises, but you rinse those exercises, or you just do 10 exercises, but you do that like really high volume, like pump work or whatever. Like it's doing something. And that's frequently the one that I like slip up on a lot for myself, but it's the one that probably gives me the most, because it means that I feel like I've followed through, and that's the one that is the easiest to go. And I think that's the same with a lot of people, right? Even though we're in fitness, like life can get on top of you, especially kids, wife, you know, different. Like I'm launching 2 podcasts in the next week or so, like 2 different theme podcasts. It's just like life can get busy, but if I don't go and do that, then again I start to break that trust with myself, and then I start to doubt myself. So showing up for myself by actually training is one of the things that, you know, the promises I make to myself, and it's just following through on that, you know?
Yeah, no, I love it, man. That's the nice thing that people can probably take from that. No matter if you're a coach, no matter what, like we teach people how to do this, right? But it's like we have to listen to our own advice as well, because we're just human beings as well. Like we find life hard, just like we find some days training and some days sticking to our food can be hard. But we just learn from mistakes, and like you say, we learn from, I keep breaking those promises. So I'm like, right, that's it, nip it in the butt sort of thing. So
yeah, for sure, man.
I absolutely love that. It's a really good answer, bud, and it's a good way to wrap up on. If anyone wants to stalk you, contact you, and things like that, where's the best place to find you and get hold of you?
Probably Instagram, or if they're an executive client and maybe they want to talk about that side and what we do with the executive health side, then LinkedIn's probably better. But you can find me by just searching my really funnily spelled name, Odhran. There's not going to be many of them around, so then you can find me pretty easily if you type that in.
Easy, man. No, it's fine. All of your descriptions, all of your links and to your channels and things like that, I'll actually connect with you on LinkedIn as well, so I can put all that in the description as well.
Beautiful.
So all those links, guys, will be in the description below. But no, man, honestly, thank you so much for your time, and obviously I'll let you kind of wrap up the day as well, your end. So thank you so much.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you.